Okay, so I am coming back at you with another little video into my process, and I want to share with you what I do when I have excess paint on my palette. So this is probably going to be a no-brainer for a lot of you out there, but I actually get asked this question more than I'd expect. So I want to share with you what I actually do after a big project or something else I've been working on where I've been using acrylic paint. I don't want to waste it, and so I really try to find a way to put it to use. So I'm going to be working in one of my art journals. It is just a cheap old composition notebook. Yes, you can work on the lined pages, but I thought this would be fun to not only show you what I do with my excess paint, but also show you that you actually can work in these notebooks. Okay, so I have got my paint palette with just extra paint left over from a previous project, and I cannot let myself waste any paint on a palette. And what I really enjoy doing is utilizing it in my art journal pages. So this is going to be a no-brainer for a lot of my art journal pros out there, but for those of you who are beginners, those of you who play around with different projects, maybe play around with acrylic paint, this is actually a really fun way to make use of anything you have left over when it comes to paint, so you don't feel like you're wasting, and you can actually just put it to use in a different way. I talk about this a lot in my classes. I know I've shared it in the past in a variety of my social media platforms, but for my brain, my creativity, I don't enjoy starting a creative project on a blank white space. Even when I'm painting on canvas, I often don't plan things out until I've got some sort of color on my canvas or my surface or my pages of my art journal. And that is just the way my brain goes across the board. So what I really enjoy doing, regardless of having excess paint left over, is taking time to prep the pages in my art journal so that when I do have time to sit down and really work through different layers, maybe drawing, painting, all the things I love to do in my art journal, I don't have to start on a blank, empty space. This is one of my favorite tips when it comes to breaking the ice creatively, to getting kind of in your creative flow, and that is just filling space with color. Messy color, expressive color, even getting abstract, mark making. Nothing that looks like maybe a composition or looks even recognizable. It is just simply about getting color down on that blank page. And this is one of my favorite ways to creatively break the ice in my own process, because when I do have more time to spend, when I've got more than 10, 20 minutes at a time, when I've got an hour or two to sit and draw or to paint over the top of things, I really love turning to these types of pages, and I already have something happening on that page, and that from my brain is often what really inspires me and really sparks ideas and inspiration. So it's often in these little sessions of filling my art journals with color that I have some of my best ideas, that when I have more time in my schedule, I can sit down and work through those ideas. But a great thing to utilize is some of that excess paint, things left over from other projects in those pages. So anytime that I'm working on something, whether it's filming a class or painting canvas pouches or even painting a painting or a wall mural, I will inevitably have leftover paint. And I always have some kind of art journal next to me so I can take all that paint off my palette, add it to the pages of my art journal, kind of get them what I call primed with messy color, or create these really colorful, messy backgrounds. And once they dry, I've got all this space in my art journal that I can go back and work over the top of. A lot of these pages and spreads look quite layered, quite colorful, quite messy, and for me that's my style, that's what I enjoy doing. But you could really go about this in a variety of different ways. But what I like to do is actually challenge myself to use maybe 2 or 3 different supplies and make use of those supplies and materials in as many different ways as I can. So often I'll have, some stencils nearby, or a piece of cardboard, my favorite brushes, maybe some mark making tools, and I will try to use those as many different ways as possible in the different spreads that I create. I limit my time, I work very quickly, so I give myself anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes at the most to just play around with color on that page. I try really hard not to overthink. I also try really hard to be quite aware of color and not mixing and making mud on that surface. I like to keep things as vibrant as possible, but I love challenging myself to work within limitations. So the limitation of using just the colors on my paint palette, the limitation of maybe 2 or 3 different supplies, and seeing how many different spreads I can come up with, how many different ways I can use those same colors, those same tools, and see what the outcome is in those pages. Now for me, these pages will often get covered up, even painted over further on down the road. I might collage over the top, I might do a paint over, I might draw or even write over the top of them. So really, I'm just thinking about getting that white space covered up and filling it with color. So I'm just working through a variety of these different spreads. I'm going to see if I can use up the paint on my palette in a few different ways. And at the end of this session, I'll have maybe 4 or 5 different spreads completely dry, ready to go, and to play over the top of when I have more time.